It's in the office. I've been waiting for you.
There's been a few that's happened.
Really?
Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. My goodness. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah. No. No.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody else?
All right. Reminder, we'll allow 3 minutes. If you overrun, that's fine. Just try to tie it up in 3 minutes. So we can go out the way with Karen Khan. Okay.
He's just here to talk about the bike trail for all the hazards on.
Oh, sure. Lonnie and Robin Nichols.
And Mr. Nichols, you can stay there and talk. Mr. Nichols, we communicated through email, and I think we communicated with a couple other people before. You would ask, and we of course said you're more than welcome to come here tonight. I will say that we are aware that you're spoken with the state's attorney, and we're aware that you've communicated with the Logan County Sheriff's Office and other possibly state officials, so you're more than welcome to state whatever views you need to state before the board. We don't have advisory power over those offices, so to the extent that other state offices or other state officials need to get involved, that needs to be done through the proper channels, and that's not the one show board. So I think we talked about that during the meeting, but, or not during the meeting, during our email conversation, but I just wanted to take the time and the opportunity to remind you of that. So we don't have an action item on those issues. Okay, very good. Yep.
So, good evening, Chairman and members of the Logan County Board. I'm Lonnie, and this is my wife, Robin. We're here tonight because our 15-year-old daughter was a victim of a sexual assault that took place right here within your jurisdiction. We came to your county seeking law, order, and protection. Instead, we experienced a severe failure of accountability. We are here to address the Logan County Sheriff's Office and its failure to uphold our daughter's constitutionally guaranteed crime victims' rights under Illinois law, commonly known as Marsy's Law. When a minor child is sexually assaulted, the law enforcement has a strict legal and ethical duty to protect them. Instead, the Logan County Sheriff's Office committed 3 violations against our daughter. First, they failed to provide her with a mandated written statement and explanation of her rights, leaving a traumatized child unprotected and uninformed from the very beginning. Second, they violated state law by failing to provide us with a free copy of the police report within the legally required 5 business days. Third, and most egregiously, they violated her fundamental constitutional right to be treated with fairness, respect, dignity during a sexual assault investigation. When I brought these failures to the attention of the Sheriff's Office, they conducted an internal investigation. Unsurprisingly, their self-policing resulted in the conclusion of no findings and 0 disciplinary action. They cleared themselves of any wrongdoing. However, the state of Illinois disagrees. Because we could not get justice locally, we took this matter to the Office of the Illinois Attorney General. Following a thorough independent review, the Attorney General officially found the Logan County Sheriff's Office did violate our 15-year-old daughter's crime victims' rights. The disconnect here is deeply troubling. Your local law enforcement claims total compliance, while the highest legal authority in the state has formally issued a finding of non-compliance. This is not a minor administrative oversight. This is secondary victimization of the child by the very agency sworn to protect her. If law enforcement is allowed to ignore statutory rights and cover it up with a hollow internal investigation, no one is safe. As a county board, you hold ethical, administrative, and budgetary oversight for this county's government. You cannot enforce daily operational changes, but you can and must demand accountability on how this county treats victims of violent crime. And tonight, we're asking the board to acknowledge the Illinois Attorney General's official finding of non-compliance, question the sheriff publicly regarding the start failure of his agency's internal investigation process, insist that the sheriff's office implement immediate mandatory training on Marsy's Law and sexual assault victims' rights. And we're officially submitting the Attorney General's final ruling letter along with the Logan County Sheriff's ruling of no findings to the board clerk to be entered into the permanent public record. Our daughter deserved dignity, privacy, and fairness, and she was denied all 3 by Logan County. I urge you to ensure this never happens to another child in your community. It is time for Logan County to stop denying it, take responsibility, and fix it. Thank you for your time. Who do we want?
Is that for all of us?
Yeah, I brought one for each board member and the clerk.
Yeah, if you give them Mr. Khan, just as for me. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Just
was wanting to know what the progress was on appointing someone to Mr. DeRoss's seat, if there was any.
There is none.
There is none? Okay. There's not gonna be any, or you're not gonna appoint someone?
You asked the question, there's no progress, there hasn't been any progress.
There hasn't been any progress? Okay, and then are you gonna appoint anyone, or?
There hasn't been any progress made at this time, and so we're still gonna go through our process of which we have to do.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I said, you had asked about progress, there has been no progress this time, we had a follow-up question on whether there's gonna be an appointment that was made or not, and there's no statement on whether an appointment's gonna be made or not, there has been no progress, so it is still in the process of one of the things that needs to be done, so.
Do you have anything else?
No, nope.
I don't see anybody else signed up for public comments. Committee report starting with buildings and grounds.
First off, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2, Charlie 1 for personnel matters.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Conley, executive session, second by Mr. Quinn. Roll call vote. Mr. Leeson. Yes. Mr. Quinn.
Yes.
Mr. Westbecker. Mr. Bowling. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Cunningham.
Yes.
All right, so this time we'll go to the courtroom. All right, we'll go ahead and resume. Turn back over to building and grounds.
So I'd like to make a motion to hire Chris Neville for the part-time facilities position.
Second by Mr. Westbecker. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Cunningham.
Next up, consent agenda is touch truck. For September 12th, 2026. It's in the packet. She submitted her insurance.
All right, motion made by Mr. Cunningham, second by Mr. Westbecker. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Cunningham.
Consent agenda. Next up is a motion to approve the RFP for the John D. Logan roof replacement.
Motion made by Mr. Cunningham, second by Mr. Lynn. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Cunningham.
I think that's it for, Logan's Grounds. There was an update on the elevator, on the outdoor elevator. We're going to be working with the state's attorney to reach an agreement on the virtual damages portion. Their fines, the $1,000 fee that they agreed to, Tyler and I, and Bill Walters has been working with them. We're not agreeing on how much it owes. So if we're not able to reach an agreement by the next meeting, we'll have to pursue that one. They were out the other day, the indoor elevator, had a wire loose, so that's been taken care of. But, getting bids from other, companies to replace this.
And what would it be?
Yeah. There was an update from Mark. They'll be coming in a few weeks. They're wanting to have a meeting with the
Because I missed the meeting in the county, I actually went afterwards. Part of what's driving has been a couple of pretty significantly high running prescription drugs, $200,000 group, cost of those, and so even there's some ways to, reading plans for people, that doesn't necessarily count on loss ratio, if it's not a loss ratio, it helps us. So that's kind of strategy. On the idea of the issue of having to take an extra contribution, they're working to figure out where that is happening, what exactly it is we're trying to do. So what happens with those things.
Any other questions? All right, so we're executive personnel, I'll move on to finance.
Nope.
Any discussion?
I just want to see what all is going on. I don't know just what they're doing for us, I just want to see what
Can you submit that to the board?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not, here. Second by Mr. Flynn, discussion. Mr. Connie?
We're taking this out.
Any other discussion? Second by Mr. Flynn, discussion. Mr. Sanders?
Can you guys speak up? We can't hear.
You mean recently when we voted on other elected officials?
Yeah, so here's what I do. We typically, I guess historically, has been practice the board to look at both the circuit clerk, look at the clerk's office, and look at what else was said? Treasurer's office. So and so historically, I guess, probably, I'm not the spotless for saying that you probably know this better than I do. Just from my understanding, is historically that's all done. But she came and asked a couple of years ago, and we tabled it, and then it should have probably come up when we did the other two, just based on historically what we've done, and we didn't do it, and they got missed. So then she brought it up, to the attention and had the demand. She gave a presentation on expansion of the job and all of that, and why she was asking for what she was asking, because she's currently leaving, I think she's currently so she had some comparables. We had one similar county that was 132,000 based on, and I just remember this from the tenant. So this is my recollection. One, and I don't know the name of the county. One county was 132,000 that was a little bit smaller than So that's the same thing you got then?
I just got this.
Okay, got it.
But it wasn't disputed, you know.
So that's what we know as far as what's there. I don't know if that answers.
Not really.
Oh, sorry.
I looked up the counties, currently, the last census was 27,145 population.
27,000, yeah.
Randolph County is 29,972. Montgomery County, 28,315 people, 77,177. And Iroquois County, which is 26,078, 62,000. McDonough, 25,717, 73,000. I don't know what our current salary is. 80, along with the other positions.
75 is with the treasurer and the clerk's office, 90,000 for the tax assessment.
The other thing is, I suggested the board would look at is a couple bills in the house.
Right.
House Bill 5584 and House Bill 3495. Don't know what the status is of those are. So variation, very well.
Right, and I think those would be to formally set salaries and some sort of percentage of the law.
Yes, it's
Right.
8% of state salary. So, I just think better to stay the course with what we're doing. Know exactly what's going to come but I'm always for keeping elected officials. Outside of working on the last time,
Any other discussion, questions?
So what I was asking specifically was the difference between what the job has been and what, the reason why I remember it like being tabled, because it was on the preface that, hey, we got XYZ bills coming through that's gonna put a lot of enormous work on her. It had not yet come through, and I'm like, well, we can't proactively or creatively change something that's not an actual real thing. That's how I remember it. Why we kind of said pause until that actually happens. But that's kind of what I asked for when it came to this report out, but I haven't gotten this.
you say the bills, you mean like
I meant that the state.
the state?
Yes. Yeah, so, like for the court, because the court requires, so Public Safety Act, how soon things happen. So that was, I think that's what we're talking about.
Correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, that's what the state. They actually work the city, or something like that.
Right, so every,
So, just to be clear, Brad gave us the advice, stipends can't be utilized. So that's all. We can't.
The state
she would agree with Mr. Sanders. I think it's with all the elected officials, I think we need to kind of hold them all close together, those offices, because they're all vital with county government. I don't think it doesn't seem fair to me to pick one more than the other. And I understand the treasurer and the county clerk and reporter, we just had to set those. And I understand from what I've researched, doesn't appear that the clerk and reporter is falls into that same statute. But my question would be is the board historically has had it set for 4 years. In the past.
Yeah, my understanding is that's just what we did. That's what I was saying, Mr. Sanders earlier. We addressed the salaries kind of all lump sum. I don't say all lump sum, that's a bad term for us, but at the same time, right? So, what we would do like when we would set for the office those salaries that historically, and again, Mr. Sanders, you know, yeah, basically we would look at, you know, we would have looked at the clerk at the same time, right? That didn't happen for whatever reason. It happened. Potential, it was purposeful. I just don't think clerk didn't say anything. We didn't do it.
I think it may have gone because 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
She just got it. That office just got it.
Well, she'd come previously and asked. I think you said, well, we won't have it. That's a story of the world. And I can't right after that. The minutes, this is just my fuzzy revelation. And then, right, which is now I think what's.
So 2 years ago it was a $5,000 raise to take it from 75 to 80, and now we're asking for another one. Well, I would like to support one this morning, maybe a possibility. But the motion that came out of finance was $15,000 pay raise, which is, I don't know how that number came to fruition, if that was some logistics behind it, or just arbitrary.
I think this was the
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to her about that. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
I'll try to validate it. I thought my understanding was 2023 was when we did that 5,000 to 80,000. So even on the average, increase of 4% based on possibly increase and varies whatever. So that would potentially put it at $9,600 if we were to go to 90 to make up the past year cost of living. Thought there. And that was kind of part of the discussion. County clerk and treasurer's office, and then tax assessor was looking at, obviously, there's 2 years to add in the cost of living for the next 4 years. We did build into the position, all 3 positions. So we even think about it with the meeting, if we would say, hey, we're going to understand cost of living increase, past years we haven't received, we just add that now, that would be roughly $9,600. So it's roughly $190,000 versus $95,000. Or maybe, but we can only do it every 4 years. So it just, I mean, similar situation, we can only change hers every 4 years. Or at least that's how I think our resolution was, so we could always change it every year.
Now, the assessor had asked for a raise, we set her for 4 years. So she did get a public raise, but she had waited the full 4 years. And she understood why, budgeting purposes too, you know, it makes sense for us. And she's okay with it.
part of that too, I believe, also, she took over total control
So $80,000. So if we, the terms, if we do the 2% for 2 more years.
The only thing they're saying, I mean,
Any other discussion on that?
that's the way
All right.
I like it.
That motion to approve letter of vacancy for Senator Ms. Quinn. Second by Mr. Lamb. Discussion.
They were out today, and they've been working on some information that they have from the water, and we think, well, based on what they've done so far, we've been able to cover the courthouse is heavily underinsured. The building itself is only insured for $17 million, but the contents is only 1.2. And we've easily got 500,000 in the same class. So, just based on some of that, and some of the cars that are on there, appears we may have dual insurance. So they're checking into some things, but just one of the other things, it sounds like we may be underinsured. They didn't even see where Stoll Park was on that schedule. Too, so, not saying it's not on there, but just from them looking at it, they didn't see that on the schedule.
All right, any other discussion on that motion? All right, Mr. Cooley. Next item, motion to approve budget amendment for Logan Ground.
We cannot hear.
That's one of the problems.
Motion to approve budget amendment for building and grounds for a facilities worker, 15,000 from courthouse contract.
Second by Mr. Cunningham. Discussion. Mr. Cunningham.
Speak to that. So that's for the part-time facilities worker. Initially, when we did the budget, we had bring budget $40,000 for extra or for contractual mowing. Creation of this position, we won't need to contract that out. So that's why we're asking for the budget of $15,000. Roll over to create a line item for the part-time facilities workers.
Any other questions on that motion? All right, Mr. Cooley.
Next item, county insurance RFP.
Second by Mr. Cunningham. Discussion. Mr. Cunningham.
Ms. Sullivan's already working on the renewal with Sermon. So they'll have a bid for us, and then ICRT will have a bid, which is part of UCCI. They were here, met with Ford. Yeah. But so it was. It did a RFPs in there, it's ready to go. The old ones in there, any changes to it, but it's very similar to what the county uses in 20.
Any other questions?
All right, Mr. Cooley. Last item, sensory night, Logan County Fair, 1,500, I assume, it's going out of the
Yeah.
community benefit.
Mr. Nelson, like to, I'll start, I'll do a second.
Second. Discussion.
Yeah, so, I've been working with Flavor on this, I'll be brief, but earlier this summer, I was in a conversation with, a local server at one of our restaurants, and she has, a son who's, has an illness for sensory perception, I don't know if it's autistic or Down syndrome. It's irrelevant at this point, but the point is that sensory perception things bother her. And she was talking about how she just got back from vacation, and they had a great time, and she was saying, unfortunately, Logan County sometimes we don't have a lot of places. So, I've been talking to Claire to do that at the county fair. So, county fair, we don't have to meet, I just got this 45 minutes before I got to the meeting tonight. The goal would be that by the board, by the time of the board, would be at a community benefit fund request for it. It would be for $1,500, and the county fair is a 501c3. The idea would be that they would have a sensory perception kind of night. So we would start at 4 o'clock on Thursday of the fair. For Claire, actually just texted me here too. And so I'll have a little bit more detail at the board meeting if the board chooses to pass this workshop too. But the idea would be $1,500. They would open all the rides and turn off all the lights and sounds. So children in the community that have sensory perception issues, where lights and sounds bother them, and parents can bring that they can experience it. So, we're trying to get this, obviously, it's coming off the floor, so we're trying to have it by finance. Mr. Logan and I'm not blaming it at all, but I'm just saying we were unable to do that. So, let's hopefully we can move this to the board, and we'll have an actual application looking at in the packet for the benefit contribution. So.
Any other questions?
What would be the funding? What was the funding going to?
So it's the all fair workers. So part of the issue that took so long was to contact Carnival, who conducts the rides, to get their workers there to get an estimate of what it would cost for them to show up. So this is truly, it buys, quote unquote, I'll say an hour and a half of non-scheduled carnival time. So we're essentially opening up the carnival an hour and a half earlier and doing it in a way that you don't have lights and sounds. And they have experience doing this. They do this other places apparently regularly. It's not uncommon, right? But that's what that buys us. It buys the staff to be there to conduct the rides and help kids enjoy the rides without kind of some of the other crowds around. So if you have sensory perception issues or if you can't be in big crowds, this kind of gives you a fair experience. Basically, is the goal. So.
Any other questions?
So like some sort of criteria, you just show up early. Is that
Yes. So what we would do, in talking to a couple parents, because I've actually said, we would put this out, right? The fair would announce it, we would reach out to some of the parents that we have in the community that have kids that suffer from that affliction, right? And then the idea would be that they would be encouraged to come to these things. So.
Anything else? Anything else from finance? That's all I have. All right, moving on to safety. Who's got the safety?
Motion to approve
intergovernmental agreement, village welfare, culvert project on County Highway 11. Project will involve some work on village right.
Second by Mr. Cunningham, any discussion, questions? Okay, Mr. Westbaker.
Second motion is an intergovernmental agreement with Village Broadwell for the installation of no soliciting signs along County Highway 12.
Second. Mr. Glenn, discussion? All right, Mr. Westbaker.
The last motion is for the airport, approve Manson's engineering proposal to do a height study on trees along Airport Road and County Road 1400. This is something we need to do to get,
Mr. Cunningham, second. All right.
this is something we need to get done. They come out and survey, it affects two runways out there, 14 and 21. So they gave us a picture and they drew a line, and that's all they did. Now we got to figure out which trees have to do that. Some tree line. I mean, they have 3 or 4 trees in the backyard, we got to figure out which one it is. But then there might be some that's right at that line, so we might cut them back and run them out because of the year they're going to be across that line again. If it's not done, I mean, you're looking at liability issues, and they'll want to step back to one thing or another. So it's up, spend up to $5,000 for the study.
For these trees that are located in their properties, or is it like?
Well, these are like airport road property. We've got easements, some of them, most of them already. There was one we didn't have, we went to talk to them, and they were fine with it. We actually moved that tree. So,
All right, any other discussion on that motion?
So is this the study for the assessment or also for the remediation? Find or we're going to see another?
now they got determined which trees we got, and then, well, probably do a proper project. So that it can be rather expensive. So if we get a project done, let's say something dollars versus whatever, so we gotta know which trees we're doing, so we know how much it's gonna be.
Anything else?
That's all.
All right. Moving on to zoning.
Yeah, I've got some this evening, trying to read. So I think we have bike trail individuals from here, so I might just start off by referring to Mr. Green, individuals who want to start bike trail.
Yeah, this is basically, we want a continuation of the bike trail plan from years ago. We went through planning, you know, that you can see on the website what the bike trail is. Karen Kahn here contacted us and basically said that, you know, there's some avenues here for grants to actually start completing these bike trails. So what they're looking for is they need a sponsor in order to make these applications. So what we're looking for is kind of a support, like a sign-on sponsor by the county. Planning intends to, and we're going to discuss it next month, planning meeting, but we intend to maybe help with the engineering and planning part of this. But what they need is they need somebody to say, yeah, the county will, you know, provide, basically sign on as a sponsor to see if we can get these grants to complete at least phase 1, phase 2 on part of this bike trail. To see if we can't get any view on it.
So is this similar to like a letter of support we were writing for like private mine, those types of grants, or is this actually dollars?
We're not committing to spend money at this point. We're basically saying that we'll sponsor this so that they can make the applications. And I'll let them talk because they're more in tune with exactly what the demands and what the requirements are. But I wanted the board to know that the planning is, planning on going in and helping on part of this. Even if we've got the funds available to help with this, at least the planning and the engineering part of it. So, we'll discuss it at next month's meeting, but we've discussed this sort of thing not into distant past, and this was part of our plan all along. So this is kind of an opportune time for this to come along and help us get this thing moving. So I was going to let them talk and basically say, here's where we're at, here's what we're doing. We had a computer conference a couple of days ago, and basically went through this and what the options are. Is it a phased approach? Do we take certain phases and go from phase 1 all the way through on this grant application, or do we take certain sections and say, okay, we're going to just do the phase 1 and phase 2 in this part, then we'll go on to the next. So, and that's where I'll let them kind of say, okay, here's what they've come up with, just general ideas. But as of right now, we need a sponsor. The county's going to have to sign on and say, yeah, we want this to happen. We're interested in this. Do we want to sign on to sponsor? Planning, we can't.
Just a little deeper detail into it. First off, I'm Karen Kahn. I'm from Elkhart, Illinois. And then this is Kevin Kuhn from Kuhn Trillo Engineers in Springfield. I reached out to Kevin because he was the engineer firm that was successful in getting the Sherman to Williamsville bike trail completed. He's worked on that for 10 years and it was actually successful. So with the ISEP grant that's coming open, it's the notice of funding opportunity opens on August the 1st, and it's a 2-year round, so it won't open again for another 2 years. I thought this was a perfect opportunity to reach out to Alan and to Kevin to see if we could get the ball rolling and participate in this grant round this year so that we could leverage some state and federal money and bring it back into Logan County. So when I reached out to Kevin, he did some research, and then I'm going to let him kind of explain a little more about what the sponsor and the applicant is about and why it's important for us to work with Logan County as the sponsor and what is needed from Logan County as being the sponsor role. But the goal here really is to take that bike trail connected to Williamsville, that trail, and then take it all the way through Logan County up to the McLean border, so that we're now connecting 2 trails together, and it's all through the heart of Logan County. So, Kevin, if you want to explain a little bit more about the process.
When we go to fill out the ITEP, it's a Illinois Transportation Management Program. The sponsor has to be a taxing body, so it has to be somebody that taxes. So it makes sense we're trying to go all the way from Logan County, and Logan County would be the sponsor. You have the sponsor, and then you have the applicant. And I think what we're asking for tonight is that the board would let Kuhn Trello represent the county to put this application together. We'll put the application together at no charge, because we need to do a little bit of engineering, a little bit of cost estimate to figure out what it's going to take, what it's going to cost. So, we can talk about it for a long time if you want, or for a short time if you want. This doesn't obligate you to anything other than when I go start the application, I will need like your sandwich number and your EIN, and I need a form that says you're appointing Kuhn Trello to act as your applicant. That's essentially what we're asking for. Once we get the cost estimates together, we'll come back to ask you, then we'll come back to ask you for financial. It opens in October, it closes in, it opens in August, closes in October. The map I gave you basically shows how we kind of want to do it in chunks. The maximum award is $5 million. So we don't want to have a $25 million trail and then only get 5 million. So we kind of break it up into 5-mile sections because it runs about $1 million a mile. So that's generally kind of how we're phasing it in. We're talking about phasing it because we want to maximize the amount of time, the amount of runs we can get. It runs on every 2 cycles. We would submit, let's let's say we get selected, they're gonna do engineering first, and it takes them 6 months to do an award. It takes another 6 months probably for them to paperwork. It'll take us 2 years to get it. Hopefully then we'll be ready for the next cycle to ask for construction money. Then in the next cycle, as for engineering money, we just keep going. It's essentially in a very broad spectrum of what we're talking about. It will take, this is a very long process. It will take years, to get up there. It'll probably take us 10 years to get to the point. But you have to start somewhere. And they do like, once I will say this, once I got grabbed on your idea and they like your trail, they tend to continue to do it. And they don't like awarding design if they're not going to construct it. So it's a good sign if you get design that they're going to do construction. But again, today, we're not asking for any kind of financial commitment, just that you would allow us to do the application for it.
I guess this may be more of a question for Mrs. Conlon. Would through the CBE, would we be able to get some of this money through the Tourism Bureau too? Some additional grant money?
So there is a lot of resources and paths to get additional money for, let's say, if you wanted to build shelters or you wanted to do landscaping or you wanted to do additional lighting. So there's a lot of foundations, there's a lot of community partners that are willing to step up. CBE would definitely be one as well. So the long answer is yes, with all of that capital.
We can stack grants. So if we apply to ITEC, like I said, construction's the big one, that's where you can get anywhere from 100% funding to 20%. Sorry, they'll either do 100% or they'll do 80, which means the locals are on the hook for 20%. You guys currently are sitting at 10%. But the way they come up with that number depends on who applies and when they do some kind of matching.
So there's a portal that Kevin would put the trail in, and it's using GIS, and it's going to tell the applicant exactly what that match would be. So until we really plot all of that out in the portal with you being sponsored, then it'll pop out, okay, well, you're going to be a 10% match, or you might be a 20% match, or you might be 0. Just doing what Molly, I believe she logged into a prior portal site and it popped out 10%.
We would start looking for grants to cover the construction costs. Ideally, that's how we're doing it.
And Kevin, you said like we can stack, so, Illinois Department of Natural Resources has their open spaces for land acquisition and development. There's potential there to get a grant to help fill that match as well.
One last question.
Go ahead, Mr. Ryan.
Do you write the grants? Does your firm write the grants?
Yes.
Okay, so you're kind of a one-stop shop.
Yes. I didn't go to school to learn to write grants, but I have learned to write grants in the last 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Unfortunately, lots of engineering projects come from federal money, and you got to apply for a grant. And that's almost the only way to get it. And this is as close to free money as you can get, right?
Yeah.
10%. And that's pretty good.
All right, Mr. Glenn.
So, just these are clarification questions, so they may be blunt, but understand it's, so I fully understand. So, your paper says you talk is 80 to 100%, right? So, why would that, I think there's a possibly 20% delta for the county on $5 million a mile. That you currently said that they would have no way to fund. So, with that fact, I'm going to take the next inferential and say, you are coming to us and saying, hey, yes, I just need a letter of support, and we have some costs in this, because we're going to go put this together, we're going to do a study to see what you can be matched at, and we've got some engineering things we're going to go do, but we're also saying that's a free cost, right?
What's a free cost?
There's the idea of having you go start this process.
Yeah, we'll put the application in. We'll put the application in.
So how do you do that? How do you accomplish that? Well, because you said you had to do some minor engineering studies.
Oh, because
Here's what I'm giving to you, right? I'm giving to you, come back to us and say, look, we put our time and effort in this, we spent some money on this, we've got this thing, we've actually 75% match, now Logan County, you need 25% of 25 million to complete the project, and then this, we obligate a board, two iterations from now, it says, holy cow, we've got enough 25% of 45 billion, right? And I said, hold on, time out. We sat in that courthouse in July of 2026, and you voted for a letter of support, or we wouldn't did these things, so we got our cost in this, and now you're back. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So I just want to talk through how that works, because it sounds all well and good. I'm not anti. I just want to make sure that, as you said, this is, a 10-year process. So this board would be remiss if we didn't think that we're obligating citizens in Logan County to some sort of commitment to years. Right. So, sorry, that's all.
No. So the way it would work, the way it should work is, we'll do the application, but before we can actually submit the application, it has to come back in. And we would go for engineering, which I'm estimating at $150,000 is the local. So if we get it, that would be that's what Logan County would be obligated to. And then let's just say you guys came up with the money, we fundraise, whatever it is we have to do, we come up with it and we do engineering. It's going to take us another 2 or 3 years to do the engineering, and that's when we start looking for other, like, how are we going to cover our 20% of $5 million? Right. And, it doesn't make sense to go out and look for it until you get the design done.
And so that's the process. Yeah, so that 150,000, that is, you put the application together, it all goes down, it comes back to this body. This body votes yes, we have $150,000 obligation. That's our 20% match.
If we get picked.
If we get picked. So what happens if we get picked, and it's $150,000, and December, this body sits around and says, we don't have $150,000 to spend. That happens.
Well, then there's an issue because we just told the state that you guys were going to pay $150,000.
Right. So when we get to, and I guess my point is, we're going to get to an application that we're going to have to vote yes or no.
Correct.
And at that time, we're going to know what our financial obligations are going to be.
Yes.
Based on your report. What happens if we vote that application down?
It's fine. Yeah, for me, it's what
Because you got your time, that's the cost of fees. So that's
your question is why am I doing it? Because I hope we get the job because this is going to keep my employees busy for the next 5 years.
right. So this is you're putting this in, this is your bid, right?
This is my lawsuit, right?
This is the lawsuit. Correct. Understood. That's what I wanted to get to.
100%. Now, if we do get it, like, let's say you guys are like, yeah, let's do the engineering, and then you say, okay, we can't live up to our obligation of it. There are cases, what happens is the state will default that, and then you guys won't be able to apply for a state grant for, every year they've been on. That's what happens. And that does happen. Municipalities go for stuff, and they're like, we're never gonna get it, and then they get it, and then they're like, oh, we don't have that money, because you can go to the bank, and there's things you can do, but if they default on it, the state just penalizes you and say, okay, you can't apply for the next, That's the reality.
So the goal here is, once we find out what that match is and where the gap is, to go out and start working on the other grants with the other resources, whether it's ENR or additional IDOT grants, or reaching out to community partners. Since I brought this out to the public, I had a number of people that approached me and said, hey, we want to help, what can we do? There's money available here, there's money available here, there's money available here. So that would be in that process, before we know that application's going in, we can do our due diligence to say, okay, we may have filled that $150,000 gap by the X, Y, and Z.
Sure. And understand, I'm not, this is, I just want to make sure that we're vetting this. Because when I don't,
Just doing your due diligence.
I want to make sure we're having a frank conversation. Well, why are you doing this for free? And I understand that. This is your law school. That's fair, and I appreciate the honesty. And the fact that if we do get all this put together, we can still say, hey, there's no way we have the funds for this. And somebody's
what I mean, you won't be under a contract, right, until we submit that. Well, even then, when we submit the application, they have to approve it, and the state does all the contracts. It makes you the awardee, or makes us the engineer of record and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not giving you a contract to sign to put you under, we think it's a good project. We did the Williamsville one, so this is a continuation for us. I don't know, it just makes sense. It made sense for us to do it. We talked about it, and I was like, well, we'll just do it, because if we get it, it's gonna keep my guys busy for a while.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I realize I'm not making argument for it. So, take for example, and maybe you can't do this, I'm sure it's not a public record, but you can. Take for example, the first chunk, how much local match was required?
20%.
Okay, so
And then what happened is there was an intergovernmental agreement to Williamsville and Sherman, and they split. Williamsville was actually the lead, but they had an agreement, and they split the cost. And in the first jump here, where we go to Williamsville, the first 5 miles out, the first 2.5 miles is in Sangamon County. So the next step is to go to Sangamon County and say, if you guys are willing to pay half of this.
And I reached out to Chairman Baker as well, trying to get that together, because I really would like to have that answer from us as well.
But I really gotta get into the portal to start all the stuff, so I can get it. I can't get in there without an EIN and someone being the supporter, right? And that's essentially what we're asking us to do. Just give us the keys so we can open the portal, and then we can come back and tell you, hey, this is what it's actually going to cost.
Okay, guys, for 2020, I remember I slept quite a bit. The hospital was studied, et cetera, years ago. They had to put it on hold. What I remember are that was due to engineering costs. Now, I told them, some information to contact at the hospital, which also played a maintenance. Because I, just years ago, that I knew there's some big connections there.
I just want to, using your analogy, you open the door, and the door is shut. That's
Sorry, I just want to keep things going.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, basically, this runs from the Williamsville to the Madigan Park. You talked about, so is this like the first half, we're gonna have the second half go over Plains County?
Yeah, the idea is that we'll just keep on going, but I was honestly told that I was going to this meeting yesterday, so this is what I can put together today. Right, and like, the interurban trails right there, we can follow the interurban trail up to Madigan Park. We gotta figure out how to get across Salt Creek, but we have time to figure that out. This is 3 phases to do it this way.
We're trying to do it within budgets of $5,000. We're probably going to have max.
Yeah, I mean, the whole project was, double.
Oh, it's a very 24 miles, I think, to get all the way through.
Well, like, Mr. Glenn said, I mean, we're looking at a board down the road that's less than 5 feet.
Yeah, I mean, you won't be obligating the future board to that whole 24 mile, not at all. I mean, we're only going to submit for the first 5 miles.
Basically, every 2 years, you have to resubmit and commit to new application.
Correct. If the state would do their job, we could probably hit every 2 years. I can tell you now, they don't. I mean, it takes 6 to 8 months for them to do their thing, and usually it's every other cycle that we hit.
I just had a question on your map here. So, this application would be for Logan County. But when I look at your phases, you're starting from Williamsville first, going to Elkhart versus starting in Logan County.
So it's important that when we do bike trails like this, they really need to connect on and extend an existing bike trail as opposed to being freestanding in the middle of nowhere. The state's more likely to grant this if it connected and extended. So that's why we're starting in Williamsville, connected to that bike trail. I reached out to the chairman to see if I can get the Sangamon County board on board to help fund that extension, which, what was that, 2 miles?
2.5 miles.
2.5 miles, so that could be 2.5 million.
Right where it turns from red to blue,
So strategically,
It really was happening.
it's just trying to connect bike trails, and then they all connect through Logan County. So we would connect Sangamon County, we would connect McLean County, and now all of a sudden, we have one of the longest bike trails.
Thank you. Mr. Sanders?
So the plan is to follow 66.
What's that?
Is the plan to follow Route 66?
The plan is to go where the interurban trail was. Aaron owns most of it, the Viper mine and some of it. Just because that's a bed that's already there, all that ballast is still there, and it's really good for using it. And Aaron usually will give us like a 99-year lease. They still like to own it, but they'll give us a lease for it, and that's generally good.
That's pretty close.
It is very close, yeah. I agree. It's close, it's real close to the tracks, is what it's close to.
All right, any other questions?
Just so you know, planning, you know, we can't pick up the whole thing, but I think we'd be willing to help with that. But we can only do the planning part of it, you know, the first phase, second phase, not the construction. So basically, that's where we would be limited as to what we can do. And in planning, I've talked to several people regarding, like Shields. Talked to the manager of Shields, said, hey, if you want to help sponsor things on this, you sell the bikes, sell the electric bikes and all that. They've got whole divisions set up that helps contribute to that and do that. Some of the solar companies, I thought if we've got electric bikes, you're going to have rest stops. You have solar panels to where you can charge bikes, whatever. Because we got solar panels laying all over, we'll donate. You know, so there's other things you can do as far as maintenance goes. Go to villages, you know, Elkhart, whatever, says, yeah, we'll maintain. We got volunteers. We'll maintain, you know, this certain distance of it, things like that. So this is just the start. Then there's, you know, other parts that we add on to it.
Appreciate it. Any other questions? Thank you. All right. Mr. Williams?
This also says letter of support for Viper Line Grant. We've been consistently doing those, so I don't know if it was a special.
I was not there. I don't know. We've already committed to them last year, right?
Yeah, that's opening back up.
Oh, it
For
is.
this
Okay,
year.
so this would be a second round.
Yeah, second round.
I'd entertain a motion to continue our support for anybody that needs to execute a letter of support for anybody that needs one for Viper Line.
Second by Mr. Cunningham. Any discussion? Mr. Cunningham?
I know last year, we can actually apply to,
That we did for the elevator,
yes,
and then we didn't get it.
we didn't get it unfortunately, so I think it was just something that wasn't filled out. I know that the city of Lincoln just hired a grant writing firm. I don't know how much those cost per se, but maybe worthwhile for us to look at.
Possibly did something.
Maybe on like a contract basis like they did, help us out in situations like this. I think it's like $80,000.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so there's a need for us, you know, but I understand like Brett's office, highway department can apply,
Sheriff's Office.
sheriff's office.
When does that open back up? When does it open back up? When does it open back up?
Not certain.
You might disagree. Sorry to interrupt. When does that open back up?
I have no clue.
Like,
I believe it's, what, September, 1st of September?
Yeah. All right.
Any other discussion? All right. Anything else for zoning?
I don't have any lessons.
Moving on, announcements. Is there any announcements? All right, County Board of Sheriff's report.
I would just, I was gonna say, I think, just wanna, follow Chief Deputy Ferris, who's, I was sitting with a couple meetings Susan this week. With everything going on, I commend him for saying, hey, sometimes we don't say kudos to the work that's done. So, even though Mr. Green's busy, I'm gonna say kudos progress has been made there. I know there's a lot going on, both Ms. Rockcamp's office, obviously zoning, so thank you for the time and effort. And I actually got a note from them that I'll need at it's on my phone, I forgot to print it, but just also saying that they really appreciated all the cooperation with the county. So, but that was a nice note, so I just want to publicly say that's all the work that we do.
All right, next up, Mr. Lee. I was looking at the August agenda, the Board of Health, community forum this past month, rescheduled the meeting, it's not on this. So, August 10th.